Xbox is easily the saddest company in all of gaming. You can look at all of the greedy mistakes that companies make and all the companies that shut down, but for some reason, former Xbox boss admits to encouraging the console war with PlayStation. Now, that is the title of this The Gamer article, and what makes this whole thing even worse is the fact that because Xbox encouraged the console war with PlayStation in order to bring themselves up, seeing their absolutely sad decline and downfall and lack of competitiveness, ability to, compete in any way, shape, or form, and now it's disastrous numbers when it comes to selling consoles, software, and each and everything else in between, to the point where they're becoming a third-party publisher, similar to that of what happened with Sega in the 90s against Nintendo. It really does go to show that they encouraged the fight themselves, lost the fight, and ultimately just ended up bowing out. What the hell is wrong with this damn company? Every time I talk about Xbox, it's sadder and sadder, and I don't know what more to say. It's just really, really depressing. So let's actually talk about this interview that happened between Paris Lily, Danny Pena, and the previous Xbox exec, or former Xbox exec, Peter Moore. So people already know. So yeah, this kind of talks about the 2000s, where there was a lot of the console war was a big thing at the time. Of course, it was, you either pick one side and you stick with it, because you couldn't really play with other people on other platforms, and that didn't really even get introduced until like mid PS4 generation, and even then it was, the amount of games that were available that were able to play with other platforms were so limited, and now has kind of grown significantly more. But of course, people always thought of gaming as like an extremely bad thing in the 2000s, and that people who played too much video games were under the control of gaming, or praise Satan, I guess. I don't know why. That was the thing that was happening. But and I also have huge umbrage with the statement that is being made by The Gamer. So The Gamer says the big three that were going at it in a triple threat match featuring the PS2, the 360, and the GameCube. I want to correct the statement right now. It's not the Xbox 360 that should be there. It should be the original Xbox. The big three during this period of time were the PS2, the original Xbox, and the GameCube. It's just, I don't know why The Gamer put the 360 there, but sure. Fans were picking sides over which of the three had better games and offerings, and trash talking the other two. The thing is that Nintendo pretty much left the conversation after the Wii. No, the Wii U. The Wii U is when Nintendo completely left that conversation, and since then have been kind of doing their own thing, completely independent of what Microsoft and Xbox and PlayStation have been doing. And yeah, it is an embarrassing thing to kind of look back at, but the main thing that differentiated games back then were the fact that it was just the games. The only differentiating factor between each of the consoles were games and the controller. Controller design was of course quite different across all of the consoles, but it just depends on what first party games you preferred. And while the PS2 dominated, the PS3 was dominated by the 360, and yet even with the 360's absolutely dominant lead, the PS3 still managed to catch up and sell more by the end of the generation, which again is absolutely insane to think about, and I need to keep repeating over and over again. People thought that, and still think, that the 360 won the generation, but it didn't. It lost to the PS3. Worth keeping that in mind. But anyway, War, what is it good for? So this is pretty much what we're going to be getting at. Spotted by VGC in an interview with Danny Pena's YouTube channel for the Xbox 360's 20th anniversary, Moore admitted that he encouraged the console war, which whenever he could, and believed that it actually got the best out of the big three: Sony, Microsoft, and Nintendo. He explained that the early 2000s was a phenomenal platform for us to get off the backs of the back pages and get onto the front pages. So the idea, so this is so for those of you guys that are too young to remember, this is pretty much a reference to newspapers. Because whenever people looked at a newspaper, the first thing they would see is the front page. And so anything on there would be the most likely thing to attract people's attention, because that's usually seen as the biggest piece of news. And that's why usually you would see maybe one major story, one sort of major story underneath it, and then maybe some small columns just to try and attract people's attentions with, the wording and things like that. But yeah. This was after the video games, after video games were in the spotlight for encouraging violence, distracting kids, and all other things that they were accused of. So this was absolutely the time where people thought, being violent in games makes you a more violent person. But, years since then, no studies have actually been able to truly prove that. While they haven't been able to truly disprove it either, it seems to be on a individual by individual basis. And even then, a lot more research has also gone into the mental health side of things as well. I think the console wars that you're kind of alluding to were healthy for the industry, he said. Look, I've said it before, certainly, I did encourage the battle because I think gamers love to see Xbox versus PlayStation, maybe Nintendo as well. And that I think it was a rising tide that lifted all ships. And I feel like, possibly, but when it comes to war and battle and fighting each other, ultimately, there has to be a winner and there has to be a loser. And that is, I think, Xbox's folly in the long run. That Xbox has lost too many times and has never truly been able to lift themselves, even though they're the ones that started it. Or at least pushing the propaganda in the background. However, he admits the industry is no longer the same. Speaking about Microsoft's new stance on exclusivity, he said, let me start that again, quote, if Microsoft had the choice, would they make hardware? No. Would they be delighted if they could make multi-$100 billion entity delivering content directly to your television? To whatever monitor you choose to play on, you bet. Business side, it seems everyone is getting along now, but more feels that aggressive competition is required, and it absolutely is. Has it lost a bit of feistiness that the industry, I think, fed upon and grew up on? Yeah, I think so. And that's the feistiness that we need in the industry now more than ever before. We need these companies to enter the Coliseum and fight because we as the customers like to see that blood sport. Yes, it's an incredibly embarrassing thing, but it also brought us innovation. It brought us really good games. It brought us really good consoles. There is a reason why we as gamers who have been around during this period of time look back during this time fondly. Why we go back and emulate games of the past, because the games we get now just aren't doing it like the way the games used to. I have my Steam Deck right next to me. I was playing some Sudeki on that game. Sudeki is a action RPG that was released on the original Xbox. I was having a great time playing it. Sure, it doesn't run the best, but it brought me so much more fun than a lot of RPGs that I'm playing at the moment. I have a lot of PS2 games. Sonic Unleashed is now playable on the PC. Why are people going out of their way to make older games available for PC that don't have a native PC version? Because older games do stuff that newer games don't. Will we ever see a re-release of Sonic Unleashed ever again? God, no. Because the thing is that Sonic Unleashed has a fan base that's not particularly big. I'm part of that fan base. And for good reason, because I love the wacky stupidity around the fact that, for whatever reason, Sonic turns into a werehog. Were meaning man, and hog meaning hedgehog. So he's not a man hog, he's just a wolf hog. I don't know. Jesus Christ. Anyway, but that's basically the idea. It's just incredibly stupid. But the basic idea is that new games does stuff that old games don't, and that's why we look back at old games so fondly. And the thing is that aggressive competition is absolutely necessary in order to bring the industry forward. I can't stress that enough. But with all that being said, however, let me know what you guys think about all of this in the comments below. Like the video if you liked it, subscribe to the channel. I'm aiming for 500 subs by the end of the year, and with all that being said, I do upload every day, so I'll see you guys tomorrow.